Hello and welcome back to Grapple Theory. Thanks so much for joining us once again. Now today our very special guest is a trained actor who got into wrestling and is now one of the fastest rising and probably also most eccentric names in BritWres at the current time. We're going to be talking to him about his career, his rise, his progress, being on Progress on the WWE Network. That's a little hint before we reveal it. We'll also be talking to him about BDSM, not something that I'm sure I ever thought I'd be talking about on a wrestling show, but trust me, it is wrestling related. It is a tag team that he's in. We'll be talking to him now, introducing Mr. Charles Crowley. Charles, how are you doing? How's everything going?
Everything's been going really good. Very busy, very busy, which is wicked. I love that. You know, it's one of those things. It's always, you hear people going, "Oh God, I'm so busy." Like, we all want to be busy doing what we love. That's the dream, right? But it's just, you can't help when you're there. You're human, and you're like, "Cool, this sure is tiring, and this requires a lot of planning." But no, things are going really well. Obviously, lockdown and everything, we're out of that now, and things are starting to get back into it, and promotions are starting to tell stories, and people are getting invested. So that's key. That's everything. That's why I do this. So
yeah,
that's very exciting.
Yeah, I totally get you. It's sort of like, you know, when you're on holiday, you're like, oh, it's nice to have the time off. You're back to work. You're like, oh, nice to get back to it. And then after like 2 days, you're like, oh my God, why am I back here?
Yeah. It is. It's like, oh no, because you forget about all the travel as well. And that takes its toll, but like it's totally worth it.
Yeah, we've spoken to a few people about this recently. I spoke to Ivy about it, and we've also interviewed Scotty Rourke as well, which is coming out soon. That's not been released yet. But they both say like, and we talk about sort of the commitment it takes to, you know, as indie wrestlers to have a full-time job and to then travel at the weekend, to commit your free time essentially to traveling between venues, between locations. It's like, it must take a lot out of you.
Yeah, so I do a lot in and out of wrestling. Wrestling is taking up more and more and more of my time, which is awesome. That is so awesome that I can say that. That being said, though, I don't really have... I always look forward to a nice, heavy weekend of wrestling, because I'm like, what a lovely break from, you know, bringing in the money so I can allow myself to spend money on promos, gear, all this kind of stuff, the stuff that I love, telling stories. And then I'm like traveling, like driving, like God knows how long, how far, in a car full of like 5 people all jammed together. And you're like, oh God, this is not, it doesn't actually rejuvenate your battery. It doesn't, you know, because it's so much energy. You're slamming your body on the floor. You after all that travel of stuck in a car, you're moving as much as possible. So yeah, but it's very rewarding, so it makes it all worth it. So, you know, and if that's the case, if it really makes it worth it, just think how tiring it is, and yet it's still worth it. That says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It says how much you love it. And that's something else you mentioned as well that I find really interesting, is that, again, I sort of mentioned something similar when we interviewed Debbie Cattell, but it's the sort of thing where you're working full time, like you say, to fund this want to do wrestling, and you're paying for your promos and your ring gear. And obviously, you know, you as Charles Crowley is someone who likes to go very elaborate with your promos and your gear and everything like that. So how tough is it in terms of personally, like, justifying how much money you can spend on certain things wrestling wise?
That's actually a very good question. It's a good question.
Thanks.
It work. So, yeah, I mean, this is something I'm battling with a lot, because I know that I like to do promos, and I know that I like to spend time on promos, because that's my way of telling people about me, about the layers that there are to Charles Crowley, and there are very many.
Like an onion.
Yeah, like an onion. And I want to do them well. Like, you know, when someone says, oh, like a promoter says, can you just bash out like a quick promo? I'm like, I mean, of course I can, and I will, but, you know, I want to present myself in such a way. It's part of the way I market myself. And of course that takes money. So I'm like, okay, well, this is important to me. And as and when I can, I will do that. But also, how your aesthetics and everything. My gear tells so much. Like, there's little monkey on the back, Sebastian. He's always part of me. There's also a secret hidden flap on my tights that usually I get like other wrestlers to open it, and I'm like, oh yeah, open this little flap, and they open it. It just says do one. And that's not, people in the crowd don't even see that, but to me, that's really important. And if they do see it, then amazing, perfect. But the little details about me, and obviously, like you said, they cost money. So yeah, it's hard because you could spend all the money in the world and you'd have all this amazing stuff, but you have to do what's important to you and what you feel is important to telling the story of Charles Crowley and the story of where he's going and why he's doing what he's doing. So yeah, it's a constant battle, but a lot of money sure does go into this.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that's the thing is that you mentioned all that, and we spoke about before as well at the very start, the want to, the travel and all that, and making it all worth it. It must be really nice for you coming back now after lockdown, because generally it seems like you've been almost everywhere. Like, I swear I look everywhere, and you were at Wrestle Carnival, weren't you? And then I saw you were Jurassic Pro on the boats for Jurassic Pro as well. And it's like you seem to be everywhere at the minute. So that must be really nice as well to be getting those bookings in and to be able to wrestle so many places.
Absolutely. I think for me, right, that it's been really busy, and I've put a lot of work into making sure that it's busy. Like, marketing is something that I've come from the acting world. So, I've got to market this 6-foot white ginger guy that there's so many of in the acting world, unless you're putting on this character. And whereas Charles Crowley, I'm like, there's so much more than just his height and what he looks like, and oh wow, so I have so much to market. And I've come back and I've been very fortunate to get on BritWres, and I am the least experienced guy on BritWres. So that has been a trial by fire. Because I pitched myself. I said I messaged the powers that be, and I was like, look, here are my strengths, and here is what I'm working on, and here is where I'm going to get to, because I am adamant that I am going to be one of the best, and I'm going to stand out in my own way, and that's the key to this. So I said, look, let me learn from the best you've got. Let me join into someone that maybe could use a bit of a mouthpiece, that could use fleshing out in themselves, and learn from me what I can give, because I need to remember that I have a lot to offer. To those that can absolutely so insanely crisp in the ring. So there's progress. I'm trial by fire. I'm getting these matches, and thank you so much for giving them to me. So I'm like, right, here we go. And I'm giving it everything, but I am learning so much so quickly. Like, I look back at them now. The first one I had, the tag against Young Guns, and I'm looking back and I'm like, oh, you can do so much better than that now. But when I first watched it back, I was like, okay, I see it as it is. Now I watch it back and I'm like, man, you've learned so much and I can see it. And that's incredible. Like, there's nothing more satisfying to me than seeing progression. So yeah, I've got progress. I'm learning progress with the best of the best. I'm getting the reps in, as they say, and I'm getting around. I'm wrestling twice a week, if not 3 times a week. I've got a 4-day in a row coming up in early November. Yeah. So yeah, literally like
oh no, just the thought of that. Yeah.
So I'm blessed. Like, I put in the work to get it, but I'm very happy that I've got it, and I am a big student of the game as of right now. Like, I'm very keen to be very good.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned that, and that's quite interesting because you talk about progress, and obviously, progress in terms of progression and the company itself. But obviously, when lockdown first hit, you sort of, like, in terms of relative terms, like you sort of mentioned, you were quite new to wrestling just generally. So was it tough to be sort of making a name for yourself, working your way up there, and then to not be able to do it for a year?
Yes, especially because I've come into wrestling a bit later in life than some. Like, people like Pete Dunne, I can't remember, someone told me he was like 10. Yeah. I don't know. The rumors fly. And like, that's incredible, but like, that isn't my journey. So I've come in and again, I start getting to a decent amount of places because I can market myself. Maybe there earlier than I should have been, but at the same time, I'm safe and I can work and I can move, I can jump, I can run fast. I can move. Yeah. So, and I'm safe, and I've got the character to allow myself to tell a story. So I'm getting the reps in, and that's everything. And then it all comes to a crashing halt, and I'm like, aha, how can I keep this momentum up? 2, not a huge part of me thought this, but I think if everyone would be lying if they didn't say a little part of them was like, do I want this to keep going? Because there was a lot of hardship during the lockdown for various reasons, as you know. You question everything, really. But then I kind of thought to myself, what can I do? Sometimes when you have less, you get more creative with what you end up doing. And thus You Are Cordially Invited came about, because I was like, how can I give people something different, but also a hint of what we can do now, but also what's to come. Like, everyone was quite down and low, and I was like, just remember who is still on the scene and who is coming into the scene, and you know, the pops from like familiar faces and the intrigue from new faces. And that was my answer to that. I was like, you know, and then at least there was a little bit of momentum coming in. It's like, you know, at least this bunch is there, and it kind of reminds people of other people and everything like that. So yeah, that was hard, but you know, hit the ground running as I come back, and that's the best thing I could have done, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to speak about You're Cordially Invited, because first of all, I mean, congratulations on it. I thought it was fantastic. And the way it was done was brilliant. But what I really loved was the fact that, you know, you had a couple of sort of experienced heads in there, but mainly you were sort of bringing through, you know, the guys and girls who hadn't been noticed, who have gone unnoticed, who are now the ones coming through because so many big stars left during lockdown and everything that happened, went to bigger companies.
Yeah.
And now you're sort of championing these guys, and I thought that was fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I see the BritWres universe, and that's important I say that, because I do think that's really important. I love the idea there's a BritWres universe. Hence why the way I do promos is as and when I can, tells a kind of story just of like what Crowley is doing at this time. And while Crowley's doing something, hey, Ridgway's doing something over there, probably kicking something. And do you know what I mean? Like, so this is my point. Like, I think those I could have chosen so many people. There were so many people I wanted to bring in as well, but it's just funds and also COVID restrictions.
Yeah, nightmare.
But those people all stood out to me in their own unique way. Everyone was different, and I was very proud of that cast of people. But they're the kind of people I like watching. And there's a few in there that I definitely still like watching, but I wouldn't say are my style of wrestling to watch. Yeah, but I know that appeals to people, so I try to get a bit of everything for everyone. So yeah, like I was really proud of who I picked for that, and they were all really so positive on the day. Everyone was just so happy to be there, to be in a locker room, like upstairs, and like just kind of like getting ready for these things and going through the process. It was new for people as well, and they smashed it. You know, they're not used to this kind of setup. So I had a lot to do myself, but everyone made it as easy as possible for me.
Yeah,
so that's very cool.
Someone yourself with an acting background who's probably aware of, you know, you film something and you stop and you do a different take and a different angle or something like that. But then how was it to work with all these wrestlers whose experience is just like they're going out there, whether it's, you know, taped or whether it's in front of a crowd and it's live and you don't have that luxury? How was that in terms of working with them and getting them used to that?
So Gene Money is a great example of this. Like the beauty of Gene Money is just that he could just say anything, do anything at any moment. And that's the beauty of I love Gene to bits. He just comes in and he'll just blurt out something. Like, you know, sometimes he kind of thinks, oh, I'll probably say something like this, but it might not even be that when it comes out. And it's so genuine when you hear him. So his takes were always so great. They were usually quite different each time, which was an issue for me, editing it.
Continuity and all that, yeah.
Literally, and I was like, I watched the second one, and I was like, oh yeah, Gene, like, do you know what I mean? I was like, but each one was so full of energy and genuine. So yeah, he smashed it.
Yeah, I was going to say, because we got one, at the time of filming, that's dropping this weekend with Wrestling Resurgence, and they spoke to us about the thing that you were both involved in, which was the Theatre of Wrestling film that they did. And they said, which was crazy to me, is the fact that like loads of that stuff, although there were like little hints in the script, loads of that stuff was just sort of off the cuff, you guys going like, you know, this is just what we want to do on the day.
Yeah. So that was a really interesting day, because I didn't really know, none of us knew what was going on. Like it seems like I probably had more to do with it because my name says like, you know, director. But actually the whole thing was an experiment. And it was just kind of to see how we could tell stories in a different way through wrestling. And then on the day we're kind of informed more, and we just kind of go for it. It's a lot of improvisation. So it's not supposed to be presented in the same way like as You're Cordially Invited is, and even watched in the same way. You kind of need to watch it knowing that this is an experiment, what works, what doesn't, and what does that mean? Where can that go? What's next? Gene and I think we have excellent chemistry. We've got very similar humor, and a very similar journey as well in wrestling. He's been doing this a lot longer than I have, and he has fought very hard to be taken seriously because, man, that guy can go. He really wrestle. Yeah. But he also really enjoys the comedy side of things. You can see it. Even when he's like, I need to prove myself to this, but, you know, and to show that go. You can see he wants to do the fun stuff and make people laugh because he's so good at it and he knows it. But yeah, that was all. A lot of that was improvised, and it was gold, and it was really, really fun. I know back in the day when I just started, Gene described me as a wrestler as a yogurt, and he was like, "No, Crowley, no." Like, you know, he could see the value, but he was also like, he wasn't sold. But then he started to see my progression. He saw like that I was working very hard to progress as quick as possible, and he started to see it.
You won him over.
Pardon?
You won him over.
I won him over big time. Yeah, so I am very excited to wrestle Gene one-on-one as soon as possible, hopefully on a nice grand stage, because I genuinely do feel like we could steal the show. Yeah,
I reckon that would be a great match. That would be fantastic, because it's two, as well, you know, guys, in terms of your talent in the ring, but like you say, two just great characters, like big characters.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what wrestling needs, isn't it? That's exactly what it's about.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I genuinely do think when you've got two characters, or as I like to say, personalities, because that's what allows people to latch on and care if you win or lose. Because I like that guy, or I don't like that guy, or I like that woman, or I don't like that. And that's because they're giving you off enough for you to latch on to.
Yeah.
And I think if you get someone that's good and good at conveying who they are and their character and their personality, but they're also an exceptional worker and wrestler, that is gold. That is absolute gold. And yeah, I think that would be an amazing match, because I think we both want to absolutely tear the house down.
No, definitely second that. Someone's got to book that. Anyone watching who can book that now, because why not? But with that, things like Theatre of Wrestling, obviously that was a resurgence production, and You're Cordially Invited, which was yourself. I mean, would you want to do more of that? Is that something you'd look to do more of now that you've sort of done it and seen how well it's gone down?
Which one? You're Cordially Invited?
Yeah, like for yourself in terms of You're Cordially Invited. Is that something you'd like to sort of, not necessarily a sequel, but like, you know, something else in that ilk?
So I thought long and hard about this, because it did so well, but I tell you what, it was very hard work. To the point where on the day, New Year's Eve, I uploaded 4 different latest versions.
Really?
Up until the last hour, I was like, heart pounding. I wanted this live thing to go live, and I didn't want any technical issues. I just wanted it just to go live.
Yeah.
And I was like expecting 50% positivity, 50% negativity, because it was you throw something out into a negative atmosphere. You can't just expect things to be super positive. But it was very positive. I was shocked at how positive. Like, I actually couldn't process. I remember I couldn't process how much engagement was happening on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and everything. I couldn't deal with it. In fact, to the point where I shut off a little bit, because I was having so many messages, and I remember being like, like it was wicked, but I had to just like not look and then come back, but there was more, and it was overwhelming. The positivity, everyone's saying thank you and this was wicked and all this kind of stuff. Like, wow, it blew my mind. So, yes, do I want to do it again? Yeah, for that reason. However, I would definitely not want to do it exactly the same.
Sure. Yeah.
that that was a time where people really needed that, and now there's live shows back. Now you cannot beat a live show in regards to that feeling you get like when you watch wrestling. It's immersive, and wrestling is a live performance. It just is. Everywhere that's filming shows, I appreciate it and I respect it, and it gets content out. But wrestling is built to be a live performance. So I've had ideas. It's a little bit out of my wheelhouse in regards to expertise, but whether it happens or not, I don't know. It all depends on like funding and all this kind of stuff. But
sure.
I'm always thinking about what I can do, because I tell you what, I feel like you are cordially invited. Is me leaving an impact on wrestling. I feel like it was big enough and substantial enough to do that to some degree.
Yeah.
I would love to build on that and build on my reputation that I am making and hopefully leaving. So
yeah,
always something in my mind.
No, absolutely. And you mentioned the crowds there, and that's something else I wanted to bring up, because obviously, like you say, you've been working with BritWres, and they're one of the companies that still don't have crowds back, while you've been working all these other shows that now have crowds. So before coming back to shows with crowds, how odd an experience was that to walk into BritWres, to be filming these shows, and to be filming it sort of, like that, almost like a TV show rather than a live event?
So there's some familiarities to it, because I'm actually more used to that over the last few years of like filming for camera. So a lot of aspects of it felt quite like home. I started doing commentary, and that made sense to me. I was watching a lot of expert people go, learning a lot, enjoying that process. Then became, a mouthpiece, and kind of started to get who I am across. Started to get more and more involved, and then the matches happen. When the matches happened, that's when it felt different. But I didn't clock at the time. I only clocked when shows came back, live shows. And my first live show back was Catch.
Right.
I think one of the things I look back on is I'm thinking too much. I'm in my in my head too much. That's certainly not a Crowley thing to do. Like Crowley already knows what's going on, and like he's like planned and calculated, and there's me thinking too much. But I wasn't sure why. Then Catch happened, and a triple threat with Gene Money and Big Guns Joe, and it just clicked. Like a year and a half, if not more, of studying, of learning, of trying to better myself when there's nothing more I can do, and then progress, and then actually putting it in and doing it. And I was kind of questioning myself. Bam, Catch happens. It clicks. It all comes together, and I come backstage, and I'm like, that felt so good. Gene and Joe were all like battered, but like happy, and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, it's absolutely the crowd.
Yeah,
because those moments where I'm overthinking, I'm like, actually, something's missing, but I couldn't click what it was. And normally, what I would do is I would punch someone in the jaw really hard, and then I would gloat about it.
Yeah.
Or I would want people to know that I've just done that. Where there's no people in the arena, you do it, and you're like,
yeah,
okay.
Exactly. No, totally. Like in terms of progress, we've spoken to TK and to Luke Jacobs as well.
Oh yeah.
And they said exactly the same. They said when they're in the match, it's the clapping when you've got someone in a hold to like G them up to get them out of it and stuff like that. The stuff you don't necessarily notice until it's gone. That helps you sort of time what you're doing and how long you're doing things for and what you're doing and why you're doing it. That whole motivation, which is crazy. Like, it's something that I wouldn't even think of, as I'm not a wrestler, but like until you watch it again, like watching progress, until you watch it without the crowd, and you're like, oh, because this is the bit where you'd normally like amp up the guy to get back in it and stuff like that.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. Like all those moments that you're taught as a wrestler, it's like, remember that there's a crowd watching. Make sure to be aware of them. And you're constantly aware of them, and then suddenly they're not there. So you're constantly aware that nothing's there. And that's like learning from scratch.
Yeah.
In a way. And a lot of people struggle with it, even in progress. Like there's a lot of people that just doesn't feel right. Some people prefer it. But like I'm certainly not one of them.
No, sure. You like to play to the crowd, obviously. That's the Charles Crowley character, isn't it?
Oh, I love it. You give me this, I will latch onto that and I will reply.
Brilliant, brilliant. And something I want to get back to is your acting, and bringing that into wrestling. So I suppose you've got to go back to sort of when you first got into wrestling. As someone with an acting background, when was that moment that you were like, all this experience, I can transition into what I want to do in wrestling? When did that all sort of click and come together?
So I caught on quite quickly that the scene was missing something. Because when I came into wrestling, I did not know about the independent scene.
Sure.
I knew about WWE, I knew about TNA.
Yeah.
And I'd heard of Ring of Honor.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, this is it. Like, I was a WWE guy, and then I joined wrestling, and I'm like, okay, so how do I get to WrestleMania? That's the first thing you think. Like, I remember it was because it stemmed from me watching an episode of Raw, and I was watching it, and I've been watching for quite a while, and I was like, I was watching, I don't know, it was like a backstage promo, and I was like, come on, and I was like, I could do that.
Yeah.
But I wasn't. The way I watched wrestling wasn't the way a lot of wrestlers watch wrestling. They're like, cool, the way he really dug under his chin was brutal, and the way he pulled him over by his chin, and I'm like more like, wow, I can't believe Edge just hit him because he kissed Vicky Guerrero. What's mental? So like, I come in thinking, right, I can't wait to tell some stories, and I didn't appreciate at the time the value of the workers' work and the wrestling and all this kind of stuff. Sure. I was like, this is fine, I get it, it's got to be as good as possible, but I can do this. So at first I could see that I could carry things, like I could do more with less earlier, but then I didn't realize for a while the value of actually doing more, what doing more with less meant. And that's really hard to explain because it's something that I'm still trying to get my head around, but like, rather than having to rely constantly on talking, which I enjoy to do anyway, I'm not going to like take that away. That's a strength of mine. But like the nuances in the actual wrestling, you tell stories, without all of this. That was the hardest thing for me to do because this was a safety net. If I did something that was a little bit sloppy early days and I give it all this afterwards, the crowd are like, whoa, that's fine. Family crowds and everything, they're like, this is great. So just the more and more I learned about the actual wrestling and nuances and telling a story through your body actions and physical theatre, the more I appreciated it, and the more I changed in regards to what wrestling I watched, what wrestling I appreciated, what I appreciated about wrestling, the tiny sells that people do, the different ways that people show that they're in pain. I'm like, man, that's so impressive. And like, that's told me a million things that I could have said in like several sentences, but that tiny thing has said it all. Yeah. And nuances, like if you're writing a script, you don't want loads of exposition. You don't want to say like, oh, what on earth is this piece of this fish? I hope I don't chuck it at the wall. Oh no, I did. Do you know what I mean? You don't need to say all of that. Yeah. Like it's all you see is the shot in the film of the fish and him like look at the wall and you're like, oh no, I hope he doesn't throw the fish at the wall. Yeah. But very strange metaphor, but no, I get it.
And without doing yourself any injustice and without sort of, putting any sort of, not to say it in like a bad way, because the work you're doing is great, but like coming into it and with what you said, that must have been quite almost humbling to be like, to think like, oh, I can do that. Like I'll go into it and that'll be a breeze. And then to see these guys and girls doing it and like being like, whoa, they're ahead of me, like in so many ways, and to learn from that must be quite a humbling experience.
Absolutely, especially when I've been acting for 8 years, and I didn't go in cocky. I went in confident. Sure. Because I could see that people could do stuff that I couldn't do, but I also saw there was a massive gap for someone like me that was going to put out the kind of content that I wanted to see, and I was right. People wanted to see that, but you're totally right. The respect I have for the art of wrestling, and what that means could mean so many different things. But like the nuances, the art of wrestling, and the telling a story. Like these people that don't feel comfortable doing promos, they don't always need to. If you're that good at wrestling, that's the case. Would it add to it? Would I like to see one? Yeah, of course. but like doesn't mean you need to say a lot. Doesn't mean you need to say much at all. I just like people that know who they are. Like people like BritWres is a great example. He's not a talker. He's not too interested in talking. He talks when he needs to, and he says what he needs to. But he tells incredible stories through his wrestling, and it excites me because I want to be one of the best. So that stuff has been really hard because that started from scratch for me. I'm not used to that outside of this. So I'm learning a lot. I've made a lot of mistakes, and I learned so much from them. I can see my progression now, and I am now finding myself very fortunately in a position where I am on the platforms alongside very talented wrestlers, and I'm going to get a chance to prove to everyone that I can go. And that's going to happen very soon. And I can't wait to be given that match from the hard work, hopefully. And then people say, holy crap, I had no idea he could pull that off.
Yeah.
And then I can say, hey, I don't need to do that all the time because I'm going to do all this. But like, I just want people to know that I can, because I take a lot of pride in that now.
Yeah,
and I have a lot of respect for those that do, and I want to be one of those guys.
Yeah, for sure. That whole, I want to do this, but I'm going to show you I can do this as well.
Absolutely.
And we obviously can't talk about sort of you're getting into wrestling without the sort of evolution of the Charles Crowley character. So sort of as a double question, like, what was the inspiration for that? And when I think the name Crowley, I think Aleister Crowley, and I think stuff like that. Was that a big part of what influenced that?
So, to start off, I wanted to do a stripper gimmick.
Right.
I thought it'd be very funny.
You going Val Venus or something?
Pardon?
You were going to sort of like the Val Venus look or something like that?
Yeah. I wanted to be called Johnny Bone.
Amazing.
And I just thought, because I was like, yeah, I think I'm the kind of personality that would quite happy to do that. I wouldn't be embarrassed. I'd be like, yeah, come on, and all this kind of stuff. So I was like, how many other people are going to be able to do that? And I want to do that. So yeah, and then the promoter of UBW, Paul Ash, is where I started training. He was like, I mean, family shows mainly. And I'm like, yeah, and he was like, it could work. And I was like, So I thought about it, and I thought, I tell you what, I really like, and a lot of wrestlers do as well, I see this, but I really like steampunk. I can talk about this theatre background, so steampunk I associate a little bit with like carnival circus stuff. And I also really like the carnival and circus because it's so dirty fundamentally.
Yeah.
That, it's built on rotten wood and all this kind of stuff, and then they take it down, they put the same wood up, and they present this lavish, beautiful, spectacular presentation. Everyone's having such a fun time and amazing, and the lights, but then they take it down, it's just wood, steel, and it's rotting and it's old, and they put the same ones up. And I thought, that's something really cool about that. And Aleister Crowley, like, literally at the time, I'd just been doing more research on it because something piqued my interest. I tell you what, it was originally the Ozzy Osbourne song, Mr. Crowley.
Right.
And I loved the lyrics because it was in like a Jack Black game, and it kind of stuck with me for ages. And I listened to it, and I was like, what is this about? And I looked it up, and about Aleister Crowley. I was like, who's this? And I looked up Aleister Crowley, and oh, man, fascinating guy.
Yeah.
Like, literally used pure charisma to manipulate people and make them do horrendous things.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is power. Like, that's scary. That's really scary. And I was like, man, imagine if I had this character that was so charismatic, so powerful that his words could genuinely convince people. And that's a power in itself. Like, he may not be the biggest, the strongest, as you hear all this, but like, this guy can literally worm-tongue his way into your head.
Yeah.
And if you can't think straight, that's when he strikes and capitalizes, because he has that ability as well. And I was like, that's amazing. So I was like, there's a little bit of that. There's a little bit of the circus aesthetics. There's a little bit of steampunk. And over time, there's just been more and more layers that I've kind of added, because as you do with any creation, you kind of add bits to it.
Yeah.
But that's where it all came from, for sure.
Yeah. Have you seen the film? What's it called? Is it Chemical Wedding by Bruce Dickinson, the singer of Iron Maiden?
No.
Yeah, he produced it. It's this film on Aleister Crowley.
Whoa, okay.
It's really cool. It's really good. I hadn't seen it, and he mentions it. I'm a big Iron Maiden fan, so I read his book.
Nice.
And he mentions it in his book about how he wanted to make this film on Aleister Crowley, and I'm like, this is super random. But like, it's apparently quite a like cult film. It's like, it's not even this underground thing. It's like quite this cult, well-known film.
That's really interesting, because I've always kind of thought to myself, I'd love to make a film about Aleister Crowley. Like, there's so much there, and I just don't know that many that have done it. So I'd be very interested to watch.
You should definitely give it a watch. I'd recommend it. It's really good.
I will. Absolutely.
But I think there is certain parts that like are missed out. That if you still wanted to do that, you could easily do that and find a different take on it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I'm absolutely right, and things that you're influenced by loads of things. But I try to, if I take something, just like in wrestling, they always say, "No, everything's been done before." It's like, well, yeah. I understand where that's coming from. I don't like to think that way, because if people say it can't be done or something, it usually just means it hasn't been done. And then when it does happen, they're like, "Whoa, first person to ever do this." Do you know what I mean? But you can still be influenced by things, then make it your own. Then something that's the first time. And yes, it's been done before, but not the way this thing is done. So I'd love to watch that and maybe just kind of make some mental notes. Yeah,
I'd recommend. I know you're busy, like most wrestlers, but if you get free time, for a couple of hours, I'd definitely recommend it.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned something in there with UBW, and that's something I want to bring up with you as well, because obviously, especially pre-lockdown, especially before wrestling came back, and I saw you on literally every poster. Like when I thought of Charles Crowley, I thought UBW, because you had such a strong run there.
Yeah.
So talk to me about your promotion your relationship with UBW as a promotion, and what that was like in your whole run, and what you enjoyed about it.
So Paul Ash, who alongside Justin Feller, he runs UBW, and he is my trainer. Like, he's my trainer. Like, I've trained in all sorts of places. I trained at Knuckle Locks, Hustle, and I've traveled to seminars and all sorts. But the constant's always been UBW, and that's where I started. In like a little boxing studio where there wasn't a ring that we could bump in. Do you know what I mean? So I get to say that part of the
classic
story.
Old school, yeah.
Old school, yeah. But Paul is just, he's one of those people, right, that like I cannot wait to give back to. I've always wanted to give back to that man, because he just is so supportive in and out of wrestling. UBW is amazing. It's a really comfortable, safe place. Paul could see the value in me, that I had something that the others didn't. They had something I didn't, but like he was like, this is how I want to get you out there. He gave me opportunities very early days, so therefore I got to start learning straight away, straight in the deep end. He gave me my second match. My debut was March 2018, March the 4th, 2018. And then that was in a kind of absolutely mental 3v3, terrible. What's it gonna be? It's my first thing,
Yeah.
Some lovely crowd work, but like absolute chaos. Bless everyone that was in that. And my second match was against CJ Carter, 1-on-1, and he is so good. Like, because CJ's just been doing this for a long time. He knows his stuff. He can move. He's going to get a banger out of people, and he can see my value as well. And he's a UBW guy. Like, he's part of the woodwork there. And we had a really good match. Like, it's on YouTube somewhere, and that's so that I see that as my debut.
Sure.
That was with the coat and everything, and it's my second match. And to this day, like, I'm proud of it in the sense that, like, it was too early for me to be in there, but like, so I was safe. I could do my bits. But UBW made that a safe environment for me to go out there and do that.
Yeah.
Go out there and achieve that. And it just makes me so proud that I've come from there, because they've given me so much, and Paul has given me so much. I just can't wait to give back to him, and that's what I was trying to do as well. When he was like, "Look, we want to put the strap on you, and get used to you being a bit of a dickhead, because you haven't been like this yet. You've been balloons and happiness, and maybe change of attitude. Again, a huge learning experience, but like I was starting to get places, and I was like, maybe I can be a draw. You know what I mean? I was like, do that. And then one day hopefully I can give back even more. But only good things to say about UBW. The entire locker room, people like Memes, Tommy Kyle, and they've all been like such big influences on my wrestling career, and very appreciative of them and everyone involved.
Oh, fab! Yeah, no, and that's great for them to know as well. And something I never thought I'd say in an interview, let's say, is tell me about BDSM.
Oh boy!
Because yeah, this is obviously a relatively new thing for you and Clementine to be involved in. How did this all come about? Because you guys make such a great pairing. When you look at it, you're like, oh, those guys really work really well together. But was there a bit more in terms of it coming about and you actually getting started with this?
So, bear with me. Let me finish my pitch.
Of course.
So, BDSM. So I'll tell you, a rewind. Clementine.
Yeah.
She was in You're Cordially Invited. I saw her Instagram, many months before You're Cordially Invited. And I just stumbled across her and I was like, whoa, who's this? Like, her stuff was so different and so unique and so like, the humor really made me laugh as well. Like, she's self-depreciating humor, and I'm like, yeah, respect that. And she just stood out from the other women that are wrestling, and it's like, you've got your beauty wrestlers, that's fine, and you've got your badass female wrestlers, and then you have like a mix. But I just can't, still to this day, think of anyone like Clementine. And I think that's going to be more and more evident the more experience she gets as well, because she's coming out of her shell. She's getting more and more comfortable, and she's got a humor that people haven't seen, a personality people haven't seen. But she's showing glimpses of it, and I cannot wait for people to see that.
Yeah,
but yes, I got cordially invited because I was like, she's gold. She's gold. People have to see her, and she was brilliant. She smashed it. She's such a performer. And then, so we kept talking, and like, I am always kind of thinking of ideas, and our humors meshed, our personalities meshed, everything meshed. And something that's important to me is that wrestling can get quite stressful, especially if you're focused, like I am, on progressing as a wrestler, and you judge how far you've come by literally like, what have I achieved?
Sure.
Which can be really hard. That doesn't constantly go up. You stagnate, or you go down and you come up. It's really hard. I want to have fun as well, and still be getting better and everything. But so I said to Clementine, I was like, look, what do you think of this? And like, I really like that you have this like RPG adventurer type character, and that's what you're interested in. And I have all this like spectacular, magical, crazy, wild, unique kind of randomness as well. If we combine these and our humors together, would you be up for doing like promos and all this with a team? And she was just super keen. She was like, yeah, and then she threw her ideas back, and together we thought of like, what if we did like Big Dangerous Scary Mammals? And I don't know, in fact, yeah, like a team that's basically like, we have BDSM as the name, but like, what does BDSM even mean? And I'm pretty sure it means Big Dangerous Scary Mammals.
I was going to ask, did the acronym come first, or did the name come first? Like, in terms of, you knew you wanted an innuendo name, and you came up with the name and that, or was the acronym first? Like, we wanted some sort of innuendo. So it's kind of like, right, I was like, BDSM pretty funny, and she was like, yeah, BDSM is pretty funny, and also it's quite aggressive, so it's kind of like, yeah, this is perfect for wrestling. And then we're like, right, well, so we've got big, yeah, nice, and that's kind of how we thought about it. And I tell you what, though, that has just, because people can see that we're having fun. It's so fun, and people can see that we're actually allowing our personalities to come out, because we're just enjoying it, and we're enjoying being creative, and therefore we're enjoying being creative in training as well. We have a sick finisher. We have some amazing tag moves, and we just need the platform to
go out and show people, because both of us can go. Both of us have a really, really good chemistry. And we're being creative in training. We're being creative with our promos, but we're enjoying every second of it. We've spent so much. You talk about money. The most recent thing, I think we've both spent about 800 quid each on matching gear that's on its way.
Wow.
Matching armor.
Amazing. Yes.
Boots. Those terrifying animal masks. Music by Hot Tag Media. You know, he does the WWE stuff, so it's our music, and that music is sick, by the way.
Nice.
Hopefully there's that's out when you release this and you can listen. And we've got a big idea to reveal it to everybody. And we've got some big matches coming up that we can't mention yet. Ooh, so
nice.
A lot of big stuff's happening. So we're keen to show that we can go as a tag team, though. People are going to be like, okay, two very fun character people. By all means think that, but just wait, because we are working very hard we want to take over the tag scene.
Yeah, for sure. It's like you say, almost like with the evolution of yourself and your own progression of, like, you know, you want to be like, yeah, we're having fun and we're enjoying it, but we can also go, like, we can work.
Absolutely, and we're dedicated to, because I don't feel a massive want to up my promo each time, because as long as we're telling the story clearly, that's the main goal here. It's not here to win awards. It's not here to do all this kind of stuff. As long as I'm always going to want it to be the best it can be. But we are working on a lot of stuff. In training.
Awesome.
So very excited. We actually had a training session not that long ago with LK Messinger.
All right.
Because they're an exceptional tag team and two exceptional wrestlers, and they know so much about tag team wrestling. So we travelled over on our way to Wales just to train with them, and they taught us loads about tag team wrestling. So
awesome, nice. So we can't see wait to see what you guys produce as well, and that'd be great. And you mentioned Clementine as well on her own before, but let's go back to just her as a performer and sort of pick her up a bit, because I mean, I think it's fair to say that the women's scene in British indie wrestling is absolutely stacked. Like, it is crazy good right now. But again, like you say, she sort of stands out. She's something different, and she makes her presence known, sort of whatever card she's on. And that's a real credit to her and the work she does.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you say that, because I wouldn't have agreed with you 2 months ago. I think it felt quite like, like, in regards to the women, who's here now? Because a lot of women were signed, and therefore they leave the indie scene. Like, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, they be signed, that's great, but, like, you know, then suddenly the indie scene's left with a few, like, exceptional, experienced people, a lot of people starting off, and that middle ground kind of just felt a bit, you're kind of picking, like, oh yeah, who's this person? But I tell you what, suddenly there's loads of really unique individuals that have come out and shown that they're here and they can go. Yeah,
they've all filled that void just incredibly.
Oh my god, yeah, and there's so many people, like Alexis Falcon. I just didn't know Alexis Falcon, and then I met her at Progress, and she can go, and you can see in Progress she's gotten better and better as well. And she's a really good personality as well. And there's so many people. But yeah, like, Clementine is very similar to me in regards to she's very comfortable wearing a skin and presenting that to people. And so it's a similar journey to me. She's had, like, the lucha training, and I've had my version of that, and, like, so we're two people that feel comfortable talking, making noise, being silly, being self-depreciative, all this kind of stuff, having fun, and just we feel comfortable having fun out there in front of people. A lot of wrestlers, I don't think, feel that. But yeah, we're both on the same journey to just be the best we can possibly be. And like, she is absolutely smashing it. She's at Rev Pro, she's at Eve, and she's all over the place. She's at bookings, obviously, and we're a tag, and we are just that. We're a tag. We're not an intergender tag or anything like that. We are just a tag. And we really want to be the best tag team in. who knows? Like, we really want to be known as one of the best tag teams in the world.
Yeah.
And as intense and as crazy as that sounds, when people see us, there's a picture of like a pug mask and a llama mask. You wait. We're very excited for the future.
For sure, absolutely. I think loads of people are for your future as well, in terms of like what you've already done and what you can see you're ready to achieve. We've got one final feature, which we call Anatomy of a Pro Wrestler. And this is more about sort of you personally. This is more shoot rather than, you know, Charles Crowley answering. This is about you answering. So I'll run you off some like topics and you let me know the answers.
Cool.
So first one is my favorite pre-show meal.
Pre-show meal. A white monster and dried mango.
Interesting. Okay. Is that what gets you going? That's the pumping and energy you need.
Well, shows you don't
want to overeat.
Pardon?
You don't want to overeat.
Well, this is the thing. Like, I know a lot of wrestlers feel the same because you don't want to be bloated and you don't want to be moving around bloated. So wrestlers don't really tend to eat that much. I think it was it Luke Jacobs that said to me that he just literally just doesn't eat before a show? I was like, whoa, like, you need to eat something, man.
Yeah.
He's just, And dried mango, it's one of those things that I'm like, I can't really eat, so I'm just going to suck on this dry mango.
Sure, but it's sugary and stuff. It'll give you that lift.
Yeah, sugary, but also then I've got my monster. And
That's fair enough. Well, on the opposite end of the spectrum, this is your favourite post-show pig out.
Oh, so it depends, because obviously wrestlers can't help but go past services. So if we're talking services, then it's going to have to be a big, hefty portion of chicken selects.
Nice.
Because in my head, that's healthier than a burger, but let's be honest,
it's not.
It's still very bad. Love me some chicken selects. A big, large Sprite Zero with it. If I'm being good, I'll swap the chips for, I don't know, the apple slices or something for chips.
Yeah, you always chips, yeah.
Yeah. Screw this. And if I'm going home, it's absolutely, without question, a big lasagna.
Oh, nice.
I love lasagna.
Nice. That's got to be like an afternoon show type thing, though, doesn't it? You don't want to be getting back late and making a lasagna.
Well, you say that. If I get back too late, I'll probably order a lasagna.
Right.
I really like it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a strong shout. It's not something anyone has said before. So I'm into that. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, like a good lasagna.
Yeah.
Like you go out to like an Italian, it's like a slightly drier lasagna, but drier on purpose, and like all the meat is individual, and like it's not got that like wet creamy sauce. You like got proper cheese. Like,
it's all
like
structured.
Like bash.
Yeah, it's all like properly square, and you're like, why can't I make this at home? How do they do that? Like,
literally, and honestly, no.
The next one is the song that gets me the most hyped.
Oh wow! That's really tricky. Specific song. I'm really, because of BDSM, because of Clementine, I'm really into Viking metal at the moment.
Right.
It's so badass. There's a song, I think it's called Fight for what you believe in, or what you believe in, or something like that.
Okay.
It's a Viking metal. It's just like roar, all this kind of stuff. I love stuff like that. I love metal. I love rock. I love all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
It used to be, when I went to the gym, it used to be Bobby Roode's Glorious.
Yeah. Banger.
It was amazing for a while. Like after listening to it 100 times, you get a bit sick of it. But like that was awesome.
Yeah.
Remember the Name, Fort Minor. That is an absolute banger. And there's another, I can't remember who it's by, but it's in my gym playlist called Blade with No Name, and that is probably
I don't know that one. No, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I'll have to try and find who made that.
All right. Yeah, you'll have to let me know.
Badass. It's funny. It always makes me want to push Crowley in that more. The direction that I'm going is legitimizing this man.
Yeah.
And these things are so legitimate. The lyrics, man, and So I'd say, but as one that people would know, I'd say Remember the Name, Fort Minor.
Nice. And moving on from that, similarly, the next one is if I can put you on the spot again, my favorite band.
Oh, my favorite band?
Yeah, like ever.
Avenged Sevenfold.
Oh yes, yeah, that's a great shout.
Yeah,
they are cracking.
I was thinking, I was like, who competes? But it's definitely Avenged Sevenfold.
Avenged are great. Have you seen them live?
I saw them live once.
Mm.
Yeah, oh my god,
they put on a show.
Avenged Sevenfold are so good as individuals, and the way they display their performances as well. The songs where he lost his voice and had to like sing differently, like they are so good. And even like songs like, is it Fiction?
Fiction, yeah.
Yeah, like it was written by the drummer.
Yeah, before he died. Yeah.
And I love that song. Like it's because I don't think it was finished, and it's so much, and A Little Piece of Heaven is like the coolest song.
That is like the creepiest, coolest song. Like, I wrote like a college essay, like essentially ripping off A Little Piece of Heaven, and I got an A, and I think it's purely because my teacher must have thought I was some sort of like psycho or something.
Please don't hurt me.
Yeah, exactly. Like there you go.
Absolutely. I mean, it's messed up. It's so messed up, but it's so cool. Like it just, that's another song that would, if I was listening to that would pump me up.
Yeah, for sure. Next one is the movie that I'd show the locker room.
The movie that I'd show the locker room. I'm going to be self-indulgent. I'm going to say the movie I'd show the locker room is, I don't know if the rest of us would react this well to this, but is Drive Me to the End. And that's a feature film that I made.
Is it? Okay.
And I think I would show that with a lot of pride. That's my feature film that's out there. It touches on autism. And there's a lot of people on the spectrum within wrestling, wrestlers, fans, all sorts. So I think that would resonate with a lot of people. So Drive Me to the End.
Sure, I'll have to give that a watch as well. Yeah, I'll have to give that a watch as well.
Thank you.
My favourite way to relax?
It's a bit cliche. The cliche answer is gym. I love gym. I just, for me, it's part of my day. So when people say that I can't find time for gym, I will start my day. I'll be like, I have no time to. How am I going to fit this podcast in, for example? And I'll be like in the gym, like, I just don't know how I'm going to find the time. Whereas it's just been ingrained into me over years that is part of my day now.
Sure.
And I love it because it's physically exhausting, but that leaves me feeling accomplished. And then for the day, I've got my brain to kind of do all like admin bits and kind of think, what can I do now? What's next? Do
you have your set time, or is it like you go when you can, or are you more of like a morning person or a?
I'm certainly not. Well, I'm a morning person in general, but not for gym. I like to kind of split my day up. And I'm fortunate enough that I can do that because I do a lot of voiceover work. And I've got a studio that I've built at home and all sorts. So, but I'd say gym, but also just the occasional, like, writing is the second thing I do. I write films. But aside from that, the odd game on PlayStation.
Nice. What do you play?
Monster Hunter.
I don't know that. What's that?
Oh, Monster Hunter is amazing. Again, Clementine got me into this. But like, it's literally you go around hunting these ginormous monsters, and then you take their like the minerals and skins that drop, and then you make armor from them. Then you have that monster's armor, and that armor is like good against this monster, but not good against that monster. So then you got to kill that monster to get the armor and then do this.
Right.
And the world's huge, man. It's like it's got like a huge following. So.
I'm definitely seeing some links here with the whole BDSM thing, like you were saying with your new stuff and everything. Like,
That's it. We just want to combine us with this mesh of just both of who we are, and it just allows us to go out there and just have so much fun.
Awesome. The next one is a throwback because it's my first job.
Oh, my first job. My first job was working in a sports bar.
Okay.
Oh no, was that actually my first job? Well, technically my first job, I worked at like, my dad's company is like, come in here, boy, you're not going to do any of that acting stuff. Right. You're going to be an events manager. And I was like, no. But like, I did that for like a few months and made me very sad. And then moved on to like, first proper job was working at a sports bar. And just kind of like pulling tampons out of toilets.
Lovely. Have you ever thought about the fact that if you start your own wrestling promotion, you will be an events manager?
Don't say that. Oh no, he's going to get what he wants. Wow, that's so true.
I just thought I'd have to put that link
actually,
in there. Yeah,
that's brilliant. I can't wait. If the day comes when I do that and make some kind of unique, it would certainly be a unique promotion. I've already thought if that day came. But like, yeah, I tell him that, he'd be like, "Good, it's about time."
I knew it.
I knew it.
Next one is my greatest fear.
Oh, my greatest fear. My greatest fear is not achieving success. I think my greatest fear is not achieving what I think I'm capable of, and I put myself at a high standard because I want to be at the top. Like when I used to say to people like, yeah, I want to be in Hollywood, I want to be doing these movies, and that's still the case. I work very hard. I do a lot of things to try and push up that ladder. People say, well, but it's only like 1% of people get there. Yeah. And I'm like, why can't I be that 1%? And they're like, what? Very unlikely. And I'm like, you live one life. Like, why not try? You live one life. Imagine if in your life you did do that. And like,
yeah, someone's got to be the 1%. Someone's got to fill that. Yeah.
So for me, it's like my biggest fear is not achieving that. But also alongside that, I need to learn to enjoy the journey as well, because I'm achieving a lot. You know, a lot of people will be like, dude, you're achieving lots. And I'm like, yeah, well, I need to like enjoy it more because I am achieving lots and I'm learning lots. And that's fun. I'm meeting amazing people, traveling with amazing people. So, but yeah, getting nice and deep there. That's my biggest fear.
Absolutely. We'll bring it back to something less deep now with a couple of wrestling ones. The first one is my favorite wrestling match ever.
As in one I've watched or one I was in?
Either or.
My favorite wrestling match ever is Edge v Undertaker at WrestleMania.
Nice. I think Ivy said that as well.
Really?
Yeah. I think
What a legend. That was the match that literally got me hooked because I was late watching it as well. But I just was like, this Edge guy's got to win this. Like, there's no way. Like, he's amazing. And everyone was like, I was watching the people, they all wanted Undertaker to win. I was like, why? Like, Edge is so badass, and they were like, but he's cheating. And I was like, that's hilarious. Like, what a prick. Like, he's coming in. I'm like, these two guys have just run in the ring. There's no way he's going to lose now. These two guys are literally, there's 3v1. And then I was broken when he lost. I was like, no, how? You had so much help. And I just thought, then he became an underdog to me.
Again, I'm pretty sure it was Ivy. I'm fairly sure it was Ivy. But again, apart from the running stuff, you basically quoted her word for word. Like, she said the exact thing. She was like, everyone loved The Undertaker. I didn't get why everyone loved The Undertaker.
It's so true. It's like The Undertaker. No, he's lame.
There you go. You got that in common.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love Ivy to bits as well.
Yeah, she's fab. She's fab.
Yeah. But favorite match I've ever done was against the now Stevie Turner.
Right.
Because she's my best mate in wrestling. In fact, she's just one of my best mates, like, easily. We get on really well, and it's so awesome when you get to wrestle someone that you get on with that well, because it really does feel like you're going in there with like a real friend. Yeah. And it's just a different thing. Like, you know, it's just a different kind of satisfaction, I think, because you're just kind of like, that was so fun. Again, it's like tagging with Clementine. It's like, it's so fun. We're so close. And so when we get to share all the good stuff and we're in there, and do you know what I mean? So it's very similar. But yeah, my favorite match I ever had was Stevie Turner at UBW. That was so fun. Awesome. And of course, we've got to go the obligatory. What's your dream match? What's my dream match? Yeah. Well, it'd be silly to say it wasn't against Edge, because it is. Without a doubt, if I ever get to wrestle Edge, I just I think like he's the only person I fangirl over. Like he's the only person that makes me feel. He's the only person I am emotionally connected to, and I'm like, I met him at a Comic-Con, right? And he was like just about to film like Viking. I was like, I'm an actor too, you know. And he was like, oh, wicked. He's like, have a really good time. Like, good luck, man. And I was like, he's just so badass. So I kind of, that would be amazing. In regards to the indie scene, there's a lot of people in the indie scene that I'm getting opportunities to work with. Two people I'd love to work. One is Cara Noir, because he perceives this industry and this art form in a way that makes a lot of sense to me.
Very much like yourself, that very artistic background, and like think about it theatrically and stuff like that.
That's the thing. I was going to say in the same way as I do. That's not true because he's really, really fleshed this out. But when I talk to him and we discuss things, as and when we do, I completely understand what he's saying. I almost wish a factor of my training had been someone with that mindset, because a lot of this old school stuff. It's like, just go in there and you learn how to get out of this hold. And I'm like, I don't know. I had a lot of questions as to why they don't get answered in the old school way of training. So Car Noir, I think we could just do something magical. I think the stories would be immense.
Yeah, I agree. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I would love to, and I'm sure it will happen at some point. And on the flip side, I would love to wrestle Ridgeway.
Yeah.
Because it's just such a clash of styles. Like Ridgeway is someone that when he wrestles someone, he's very good at getting them to wrestle his kind of match, and that's a mind game. Because it's kind of like, you wrestle my kind of match, and I'm going to win because I'm the best in this kind of match. And I want to do my damn hardest not to wrestle a Ridgeway match.
Yeah.
So instantly then you've got such an awesome, exciting story. It's
For sure.
Like,
yeah.
Who's going to come out on top of this?
Those would be two great matches. Someone, again, like we said with G-Money, someone book those, because those would be money. Yeah. Those would be great.
Yeah.
One I'm just going to put in for you, because it's not on my list, but it's just come to my mind that I'm interested to know. So if I were to offer you a sort of like a leading role in a Hollywood blockbuster film, or a match at WrestleMania, which would you want?
Oh my God. Oh, what? That's wild.
Yeah, I thought I'd go your two dreams there.
So that's really interesting, because my mind instantly goes to, what would I do with it? I always liked the idea that you never really see people famous or known for being in the acting world coming into wrestling. Like, this, what was it, Steve Amell? Was that his name?
Steve Amell, yeah.
Yeah, so like he did, but he hasn't stayed a wrestler. He's gone back to acting. And early days has kind of changed a bit now. I always thought maybe that would be my way in. And so if I was in a Hollywood blockbuster, I think certainly my chances of getting a WrestleMania would be
they would improve, wouldn't they, for sure?
And I think that's such a cool story arc as well, that it's like all this kind of stuff, but he's come and chosen to live this life instead. It's usually the other way around. They wrestle and they go off to Hollywood.
Yeah.
And it's like WrestleMania is that stepping stone. To me, I think WrestleMania would be the one of like the final places to get to.
Sure.
So I think I would take the Hollywood blockbuster, because that is something that's been a dream of mine for a very, very long time. And I would capitalize it in the best of ways to lead eventually to a journey towards WrestleMania main event.
Yeah.
Its edge.
That would be a great story, wouldn't it? Like, what made you want to be an actor? Well, I have this goal of getting to WrestleMania.
yeah, absolutely. Oh, I was watching a promo on Raw.
Awesome. Two more. My favourite place in the world.
My favourite place in the world. You know what? I'm a little bit obsessed with like East Asia. It was a big life-changing moment for me when I decided that I was in a routine and I was obsessed with achieving success in the acting world. That I would wake up, apply for jobs, wait for replies, reply to those replies, gym while I'm waiting, apply for workshops, go to workshops, just do all this, and I wasn't going anywhere. So I had no favorite place in the world, because I was just, everything was robotic and I wasn't living.
Sure.
And then one day I was like, I'm sheltered. I don't know anything about life. How am I supposed to be the best actor and performer in the world if I haven't experienced things?
Yeah.
So I got up and went to China.
Just on a whim, just like as you do. Just
cash.
Yeah.
And it was the best. There's actually a YouTube video on YouTube somewhere of my experience in China. And
nice, we'll have to find that, yeah.
Little documentary, and it's actually quite fun. It was amazing. So as of right now, I would say China, because I went to stand at the top of I think is it called the View, and it was in Hong Kong. I looked over at all these like quite cheap looking LED lights that are on these amazing skyscrapers, and I just thought everything was so unique, so different. It just really opened my mind, and I realized that there's so much to see, and it actually, because of that, changed my goals in wrestling. Like I want to travel the world. I want to be paid to act around the world. I want to be paid to perform around the world. I want to be paid to wrestle around the world.
Yeah, expand horizons and everything. Yeah.
So because of all that, I'd say China.
Awesome answer. And for the last one, again, this could be China. So let's say somewhere you haven't been before, because it's my dream holiday destination.
Japan.
Very similar, yeah, in terms of location.
It's quite similar, but Japan, because I want to go train there. I want to be beaten to crap. I want to, because they train by destroying your body, they train your mind.
Yeah.
And that really appeals to me. And that's really hard to put yourself in a position to know that they're going to mentally break you.
But still want to do it.
Yeah, because, you go through tough times, and you can say this about depression as well. Like, the more you deal with it, the more you are well equipped to continue to deal with it. Not necessarily is it ever going to go away, but every time it comes round, you're just better equipped. I want to get as many tools as possible to achieve the most I can in this industry. So Japan, for me, absolutely is the place.
Awesome. Great answer. Well, I think that brings us to an end, but, Charles Crowley, thank you for joining us. Anyone who's still watching, thank you for sticking around for this long. And Charles, I'm going to leave you with this as Charles Crowley. If someone sees you on a poster, sees you on a match card, why should they come and check you out?
Oh, why should you check out Charles Crowley if you see him on a poster? Because there's going to be interaction, there's going to be a story, there's going to be someone that is so mind-bogglingly weird. Mind-boggling,
yeah, new words, everything.
Yeah, literally. But this is the thing, like, I want Charles Crowley to be the most unique thing. I want him to be something that you can't. When people say to me, "Oh, look, this person's doing a ringmaster gimmick. What are you going to do?" I'm like, it doesn't bother me at all. It's not Charles Crowley. So you can't see Charles Crowley anywhere else. If you go and you think there's going to be someone similar to Charles Crowley, you're wrong. If you go to a show where Charles Crowley's on it, I can assure you that is going to be a unique experience.